Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Schneider and SMEVentures. Many of you would perhaps have attended some of our conferences earlier. We had been doing for the last 1 year, but this is the first venture we are doing in the new normal, which is today in the digital or the webinar format, as all of you know, because of social distancing norms right now it will not be possible for us to do it in a physical gathering. So first, I would like to when it's a digital gathering, it might not be entirely possible to replicate everything of a physical conference in this model. Bear with us for some, if there are some minor discrepancies, but we will try to actually manage and come up with some best practices in power solutions today, which hopefully will give all of you attending some ideas about what sort of power solutions you should look at and what sort of best practices you should follow in that perspective. The format today is we have experts from Schneider here who will talk about the power solutions and how they can be of beneficial nature to all enterprises and organizations, especially in these critical times. And for that, we have expert from Schneider to talk about. And after that, we have a panel discussion where personnel from Schneider as well as from different industries will share their experiences about what are the nature of the power solutions that are available, what are the challenges, what are the solutions, and what sort of role a vendor like Schneider can play in that. So without much further ado, I would like now to introduce you to Mr. Rakesh Singh. He's the Director of Business Development in Schneider Electric for India. And Rakesh will take us through a highlight of the power solutions that Schneider offers and what sort of benefits they can give to Indian enterprises. So I'll hand it over to Rakesh.
Good afternoon to all, and I hope all of you are able to see my screen. So just to start with, to set up the context today, what we are going to discuss here is more about the quality of, just a moment, let me minimize this. Okay, so the topic for the today is the importance of power quality for continuation of the remote business. We all know and we all understand the importance of the quality power for our business. And today from Schneider Electric, I will be covering up more about how do we continue the quality of power and how does the quality of power help us to manage our business remotely. What you see on my screen is a bit of a complexity for the IT business. You see in the left side, which is on the centralized cloud, which gives us massive compute and storage space. But at the same time, it also brings up a challenge of the latency, and that is what has created a demand of the edge compute in the industry to have a compute more and more closer to the users. Because of the latencies, it's becoming very important in many of the industries to have a local compute and edge compute near to where you have the users to create the data locally, to access the data locally, and more on the compute and the storage there. Something new which has evolved very recently is the endpoint connectivity, which is becoming more and more important. And the endpoint has an access to the centralized, it has an access to the regional edge, and it also has an access to the local edge. And such an complexity is bringing more and more distributed network. So if you look at a time where the things are becoming more and more centralized, then it became distributed. And in current situation, the centralized and the distributed compute coexist together, and that's what is more important. We'll see in the next few slides what is that importance and what is the priority for the different user when we look at the centralized compute and when we look at the edge compute and the endpoint compute. You will see that over the next few years, these are the trends which are going to be more and more, and you would be hearing more about these transformations. Digital transformation is the first one, which is creating a buzz of the IoT in the industry. The data transaction is going to be more and more. Creation of the digital data is going to be more and more, and that is again putting a pressure back on the cloud compute as well as the local compute and the edge compute. There is a workforce transformation that we are going through it currently, and it is going to be more and more in the near future. You have an IT transformation where the IT on the hardware side as well as the software side is transforming in a complete new way. The security is becoming another challenge in the industry. While we see the hybrid network connectivity in between the cloud and the local compute, the security is playing an important role. When we look at the security, it is a physical security, and it is also about the data security on that. On the growth of the business, we see that 75% of the enterprise data centers, our enterprise data is being secured or is being processed on the local edge, and we are seeing a trend that it is going to grow further more and more. So along with that, the edge compute also brings a benefit to that industry for a rapid growth on the data and the compute growth on the data. And that's how it becomes very important to have a continuation in the connectivity and so the quality and reliability of the power. And that's where Schneider plays a very important role for a continuation of the data and continuation of the connectivity. So what you see that the priority for a large customers who are into the large cloud and service provider data centers in range of 250 to 1500 kilowatt, priority for them is the availability, efficiency, and execution capability. When they select on any of the suppliers, these become their priorities. And while addressing these priorities, the quality power solution offers that Schneider has got the large UPS systems, which ranges from anything in between 100 kilowatt and goes up to 1500 kilowatt. They are modular, scalable in nature, and very high efficiency UPSs. In terms of the priority, you saw that, but same time they also look at the features, or they expect the features from these products which are high efficiencies. There is a trend to move from the VRLA batteries to the lithium-ion batteries, and they look for a power quality solution which is modular in nature and which is scalable. It can be scaled from a small capacity to the large capacity. When we move to the edge compute server rooms from the large cloud data centers, the priority has gotten shift. The customers who have a need of the same customers, when they go into the large cloud data centers, they have different. But when the same customers do a deployment of the edge compute server rooms, their priority changes. Having in smaller offices, they look for the power quality solutions which are compact in size. Those are very efficient. Efficiency remains as a common trend, and they also look for the remote monitoring. For them, any of the power quality asset, having a remote monitoring of that asset becomes very important for them. And to support that, Schneider Electric has got a quality power solution which supports for an high efficiency, which supports for the remote monitoring, and the kind of features which they look at for is in a smaller footprint and remote mode. So these are two new things gets added the moment we look at the small compute rooms. Coming to the next point, which is an endpoint compute, the priority changes for the endpoint compute. It is the availability in the market, so that the supplier should have the quality product providers should have an availability in the market, and in terms of the reach and in terms of the distribution available into the market. Obviously, the remote monitoring remains as a second priority for them, and the warranty and services is equally important for the endpoint compute customers. They again look for a longer backup. You look at the current trend of work from home, whereas most of the enterprises are moving towards the work from home, and where the longer backup is becoming more and more important. So coming to the work from home, it is I don't see that this is something new. This has been in country for quite long time. What has changed is the ratio of how many people to work from office and how many people to work from home. Previously, if we look at the top 5 IT industries, we used to have a ratio of 80-20. So 80% of the workforce used to work from home, and 20% of the people were working from sorry, in a reverse side, we had 80% people working from office and 20% of the people working from home. But looking at the current situation where we are in a pandemic situation, where to have a continuity of the business, the organizations have adopted to it, and the trend has just got reversed. We have 20% of the people in the office and 80% of the people sitting at the home, and they're working from the home. For in continuation of the business, it becomes very important to have a live compute at all the 3 connected points, be it is a cloud service available or a cloud data centers, having it as a regional edge or a local edge compute server rooms, and it is an endpoint compute. So any of the point, if you lose the power or if you lose the connectivity, it impacts the business for any of the small enterprise or a large enterprise. So having a quality power solution becomes important at all the 3. And to ensure that you have the quality power available, it also becomes important for the customers and the users to have a remote monitoring of all the 3 different setups. And that's where Schneider Electric brings up a software platform, which is EcoStruxure IT, that provides a connectivity and the visibility of all the critical infrastructure, be it a centralized data center, be it as a regional edge, or it is a local edge, local distributor edge, or a local compute event. So having a complex distributed IT network, and customers are the users having a quality power solutions, it becomes very important for the enterprise to have a common software platform which can connect to assets at the different places which are being deployed for them, and doing a advanced monitoring, advanced analytics, and making the data available for them to monitor and make use of it in a better way. So thanks to all of you for joining this, and with that I end up my presentation.
Thank you, Rakesh, for that. We would have the panel discussion. May I request both Anuj and Harish to just turn on their webcam, and Anuj. Yeah, and we have Ankesh also from Schneider, Pallab from RPG CSC, and Venkat from NPR have got stuck in last minute meetings, but both are trying to join in as we proceed. Just as a brief beginning, Anuj is the Director IT of OneShield. OneShield is in the insurance domain, and Anuj is particularly in the infrastructure management part and has been handling the data center and the other the data center management part also for OneShield since 2008. Harish is the CTO of Sarovar Group of Hotels, and as part of the hospitality industry, even the infrastructure management of the hotel is a critical component. We also have Ankesh. Ankesh, for many needs no further introduction, is quite a well-known person in the IT industry. Just for those who are not aware, he is the strategic and channel marketing head of the secure power division in Schneider Electric, and even before Schneider, he has been associated with other large IT companies also. Once we start today, my first question will be, I'll start with Anuj. Maybe my question is, one, we are talking, in any case, even before the current situation came up, remote working was a large trend, especially for multinationals like you who work across geographies. But even more in the current situation, the remote has become sort of a new normal. So when remote working is so predominant, what are the challenges in having a critical power solution? Because power is one critical component of infrastructure. So what are the challenges that you face when having a reliable and secure and quality power solution?
Yeah, so let me start with this. As you said, that power solution is, a good power solution is a backbone of any organization, right? Be it IT or be it non-IT, right? So we cannot, go beyond making anything uh, which is which has erratic power supply, right? So you cannot be a successful business if you don't have a constant power supply, which is you know uh, y- uh, fluctuation free, to say the least. And in terms of critical business needs, as important as is to get the continuous power supply, it is equally important to get quality power supply. Right now, when it comes down to business operations, so in terms of I'm managing the data centers. The first thing that you talk about, you can have all sorry you can once you're on the drawing board while building out a new office, the first thing that comes to you from an infrastructure point of view, be it servers, be it internet, or be it telephone lines, you try to create a backup for everything, right? But when it comes down to power solutions, right, so at that point of time we see, okay, our building is providing the backup, and we don't generally, unless and even for tier 1 companies, you don't go and they don't plan it for situations where you know uh, your in-house power supply is uh, your in-house power supply has the ability to take on if your building fails, right? So the concept of data centers and co-location came up, which had better power solutions in place, right? Even though there are data centers which are say level 5, level 6, where the power sources are also double in nature, right? So one is coming from, say, one particular service provider, and the second power source is coming from the second service provider. But as it doesn't matter how many service providers you get the power from, right, the hardcore reality of the fact is that our power sector is not as good as it should be, considering our demands. So we have to have a fallback solution in terms of a disaster that may happen, right? The disaster can result in a power failure of a whole grid, right? Things like that, or a pandemic situation like this, where a building is not getting proper rents and things like that, and they're not able to maintain. So here people like Schneider and APC and things like that, vendors come into the picture. And then having a very robust solution is which is very much required. Right. So in terms of people working from home and things like that, right, we need to have power solutions where we can see, okay, even if people are not in office working from home, there is no one there, we should have the capacity and the capability both to trust on the UPS system or the backup system, which we can say, okay, they can run parallelly without any they will not seek any attention. What I mean, periodic maintenance and all that stuff is okay, but they should be able to run those systems without having someone to actually see what is happening in the power room. So that kind of robust technology is what is we require.
Okay. Thank you. I'll come to that. I'll come to Harish now. Again, you're talking from the hospitality sector, but overall, Anuj also touched upon two areas. One is from the data center perspective, and second is in the current, more like the work from home perspective. And in both the situations, having a quality power solution is important. So, what, Harish, according to you, are the challenges, and especially for your sector, in terms of having reliable power solutions.
Thank you, Rajneesh, for giving me the opportunity here. Thank you, Schneider. We are in hotel industry where customer experience is very important. We have hotels all over India. We have hotels in places like Badrinath, Mashobra. Connectivity is very much required. Guest satisfaction is required. So we have challenges. We have road warriors, salespeople on the roads. They connect to different systems to access guest data to make bookings. There are many guests who are trying to book hotels in, say, Mashobra, Shimla, or Badrinath. If power is not there in data center, nothing will work. You know the case of Pizza Hut or QSR, quick service hotels, where, say, for 30 seconds, power is not there, they lose so much of business in lakhs in a millisecond. So we are in people's business where we have to give a very we have to always ensure that all the guest feedback service systems, reservation systems, data centers are online without fail 24 by 7. Let me give you an example. Say if a guest is there in the room and if TV is not working because power is not there, or say everything is working but Wi-Fi is not working because there is no power in the Wi-Fi router. Think of a scenario where guest is there in a bathroom and power goes off and emergency light is not working, though there is a backup, but batteries are very poor. If no one is analyzing all those things, it leads to very bad customer service, and guest leaves a lot of comments on TripAdvisor. Our industry is all about guest sentiments. We have to ensure that everything works 24 by 7. We may have to change the tire in a running car. This is how our industry is. There are challenges with people who are working from home. What happens is their VPN connectivity goes for a 6 when there is no power. Sometimes Wi-Fi router is not working. Laptop has got battery, but if you do not have a reliable power, your business comes to stall and you have a lot of complaints. And in this scenario, when all the wheels are falling, business is not there. Our industry, along with aviation, along with cinema, malls, is badly affected. We have to ensure that we do not leave any space, any error to not come to the customer satisfaction point of view. Now the challenge is a lot of long shutdowns are happening. Because of that, service is not able to happen. Maintenance is not happening. Say within NCR, you will see that say we have a hotel example in Noida, and a vendor or there's a hotel in Manesar example. If our UPS company service provider is not able to come from Delhi to Noida, Manesar, Bhiwadi, then how we will serve our customer? How we'll provide very good service? So a reliable power solution, a reliable company is very much required. Otherwise, all the electronic gadgets systems fail.
Okay. Thank you. I will come to you, Ankesh. You have heard two users from different perspective talking about the challenges, and especially in the current situation, those challenges are magnified. So, what as a vendor would you say? As a vendor, Schneider has to offer to sort of mitigate these challenges.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Ranish. Very insightful, feedback. See, the basic thing, what basic challenges what we face, and also the what customer face, specifically for all the customers who are trying to support their employees who are working from home. Say in office and data center, everything has a standard. Everything is standardized. You have a certain standard of building, certain standards to follow, and everything. But when your infrastructure moves to home or moves to any remote location, there are no standards. People lives in apartment, people lives in houses, people lives in a very different kind of different kind of shapes and sizes, as well as their connectivity requirement is also changes. And this has put a lot of pressure on how they can work uninterruptedly. And that's where we provide kind of solutions where we understand to what extent they want a power backup solutions, to what criticality. So if it is just a, say, for example, we heard about, someone is having a laptop, but there is an issue, say, maybe in a router and everything. So something as basic as what we can provide from a line interactive UPS, and then something where a customer would like to monitor their staff's IT assets remotely. There we provide a lot of connectivity solutions along with our UPS through our SNMP card and online UPS. So the basic thing what we do when we look into these kind of solutions, we do the right sizing of it. We understand what is the typical requirement of the customer who has moved, from your office to home. Because in office your infrastructure is pretty much solid. It's very easy to control. It's very easy to manage. But the moment it goes beyond office in a very distributed environment, you really need a very robust infrastructure to provide uninterrupted work. And power is a basic backbone of it. I always use this analogy. For example, you may be having a Ferrari car or a Mercedes car, but if your road is not good, you are not going to drive at the maximum speed. Just the same thing goes with your, you may have a best of the laptop, or best of the communication device, or best of the, connectivity solutions. But if you do not have a reliable power, and with reliable power, we don't mean only battery backup. We don't mean only power backup, because a lot of time customers feel that UPS is to provide you power backup. The major thing which UPS provides is a power protection. And when you have, when you're working from home, you are using your company's asset. You're working in something important. And in the house, the electricity fluctuates. Like I live in Bangalore. Sometimes when I see my UPS reading, it goes up to sometimes 270 volt, which is very, very, very bad for your IT equipments and all. So UPS also provides the power protection. So yes, we understand these challenges, and accordingly we design solutions and provide to our customer.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Anuj. Now, Ankesh mentioned one thing about their difference in when the challenges for the work from home kind of environment, then standardization. Obviously, people are connecting from heterogeneous networks, using heterogeneous devices. So there is a standardization challenge. So that is one. And the second aspect is the data center aspect, where though there is standardization, but especially in the current situation, power is a challenge. So in both these scenarios, what would be your expectations or recommendation for what I will say a reliable and safe power solution? What would you expect?
See, basically, as Ankesh said, I pretty much agree with him that people more often than not in this generation, right, as we are progressing, uh, you know, uh, I'm sure people here are well experienced enough and more experienced than me, but I have seen the younger generation today where they don't actually uh, know what a UPS is. Right. So for them, it is an uninterrupted power supply solution where you are only giving that they are only worried about okay, my light is gone. I would plug in my Wi-Fi router into my UPS and that's it. Right. But the fundamental of this particular thing goes back to early 1980s. When we do not used to have a UPS, it was known as a CVT. People from Schneider like Ankesh and may be able to correlate it better. At that point of time, it was known as constant voltage transformers, right? So its only job was to not it didn't used to had any backups batteries connected to it, but it was just to give you constant voltage, because that is what a machine requires, right? Besides a constant power supply. Now there are a whole lot of market flooded with people selling UPS for 800 bucks to 2000 bucks, and there are still people like Schneider, APC, and level 1 service provider who till now say 800 VA or a 900 VA UPS for 10,000 11,000 bucks, right? So we need to understand as a subscriber or as a client as to what the infrastructure is, where we are living in. So if you are having a data center in Delhi, you may compromise little bit you may not treat or consider power failures as much as if you are in Noida or hosted in Gurgaon, right? Because in Delhi, the power situation from the backup supply is, see, at the end of the day, UPS is a machine, right? So it will only work as to if your we have inverter air conditioner inverter technology, which we have in ACs, fridges and whatnot, right? Now if your UPS is also if your light is going, say in 15 minutes it is shifting back and forth with 5 or 7 times, and the power source that is coming is also fluctuating, as Ankesh bhai said, from say 110 volts to 250 to 70 volts. At certain point of time, it has to fail. So you cannot purchase a solution which is only in you take in mind that what backup will it be providing. So the solution, when it says how you choose and what makes uh, a best solution and which makes a good solution, so you have to basically take into consideration both the things, as where you are, what is your requirement, and what product will suit your requirement. It is not only about so that is one thing that Ankesh touched upon, which I agree, that we need to have a power solution centric to what the underlying infrastructure is. So you cannot say with a thumb rule that for this data center this particular product is going to work.
So how will you uh, okay, I agree that there are no thumb rules for that, but typically if I may say the common scenarios in one or two data centers, so what sort of power solutions would you recommend?
See, as far as I understand, first I will, before going to the UPS, I would, would want to check what the power source is, right? Going one down level, right? What the government is providing. And on top of it, I will go for a service provider which has the latest technologies, right? And, you know, see, product anyone can sell you. It is not hard to, I mean people from the industry will make fun of me, but it's not rocket science to uh, it's a rocket science, but it's not exactly a rocket science to make a UPS, right? So with what differentiates between best and the good solution is the after sale services, the products being used. So I would always go for a tier one company, check the products that they have and what is the backend technology on which that product is running.
Okay.
Right. I don't want to take company names that APC is better or Schneider is better or which one is better. But for me, first point of interrogation would be what the power source is. Then once it comes down to what kind of solutions, power solutions that the data center has arrangements for, right? So coming down the line, from an IT perspective, after Wi-Fi, we are coming down to Li-Fi, right? I don't know how many of you must have, probably Harish sir might have. I'm sure he must have known about it, right? After Wi-Fi, now we are talking about internet traveling through light, right? So at that point of time, once we are there, right? So at that point of time, we need people like the power companies to take a step up and actually evolve in the same way as IT has done. So I'll quote Obama on this. He used to say, "Nation that cannot control its energy sources, right? That nation cannot control its future." So with that, I mean, is the basic thing that a power solution with a good infrastructure and after sales services and good products is the key to success. And as far as IT is concerned, the IT and power will go both hand in hand to make our nation a better place to live in.
Great. Thanks. Harish, what would you join in as what sort of solutions would you be looking at, especially from a hospitality sector point of view?
From hotel point of view, like I mentioned, that we have got hotels all over India. We have hotels, hill stations, beaches in big cities. So I need a partner who can give me service all over India. No one should say that I can't go to Mashobra, Badrinath, or say Gangtok. The product should be scalable to my needs. Say today I've got 50 rooms. Tomorrow, say if I've got 100 rooms. So for the emergency lights, if it can be scalable, fine. It should be self-maintenance free. And the thing is affordability of the cost. Cost is very important for industry. Other things are like support 24/7 by 365, execution capabilities of company. Okay, then there are many examples that currently we are in a world of predictive analysis. If a company can give me a software that batteries are going bad, and I know that now it is only a month I have to procure them, software plays an important role. Predictive analytics is very important for us. Now we need a solution which can work from 70 rooms hotel to 300 rooms hotel. We have smaller hotels also. We have bigger hotels also. We have hotels which are in tower. We have hotels which are spread it in a big villa in say 10 acres, 15 acres of land. So how it can make sure that spikes are not there? It can ensure that all the sensitive equipments work always. Like for example, we have to always ensure that guest is happy. In a guest room, you have got television, music on demand, emergency lights, door lock. There's so many things. It has to work all the time. Cost of real estate is very important. If there is a solution or if there is a UPS solution which can be integrated with cooling tower, for example, which helps me to manage in less space, that becomes my priority. In hotels, hardly we give space to a server room or a data center. That is always a lapse in hotels. For example, hotels always make very big rooms, very big lobbies, but space given to data center is very less. So in all this, what I will say is like Rakesh has already covered a lot of things like execution capability of a company, support, or high energy efficiency. All these factors are very important for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you, Ankesh. Now, you heard that some of the critical things that maybe the CIOs are looking from a vendor perspective. One is the geographical reach, then the support services, and obviously budget is an important part. And beyond that, some things like we heard about if there are predictive analytics capabilities and things. So some of these critical aspects, how would you rate and Schneider and where Schneider sort of offers these facilities? Enlighten us on that.
Yeah, thanks, Rajneesh. Great question. And I think that's what, if you see what Rakesh has covered, and he covered from only one aspect of it, which is a secure power division, which we talk about, and we are talking about UPS and all. But if you see the entire Schneider Electric world, and that's where we talk today, digitization of electrification. You know, now we have come up in this electrification time where there is electricity everywhere, but how to manage and monitor that electricity from your site level to a room level to rack level and to the endpoints. And that's where if you see one of the chart, if you remember of Rakesh, where he talked about, today if you see entire IT infrastructure is working in a hyper it's a hybrid kind of architecture. So you have a hyper scale data center where the needs is completely different, which Anush talked about. For example, if you see the large tier data center which goes for tier 3 or tier 4 kind of solutions, they require more, they talk more about efficiency because their consumption of electricity is so much, even the 1% of saving matters quite a lot. So their efficiency is the top priority. But then if you come to the edge side or a regional data center, their availability, reliability becomes much more important because you have to serve or you have to provide solutions for whatever the demand is generated there. And then it goes to the remote location, branch location, like multiple branches. Like he talked about, he has so much of small hotels and all. He can't afford to have a data center each place, but he still needs to do some computing at that particular location. So that's where you have a micro data center or edge kind of solutions where we everything can be provided and the availability can be there, and there the security is more concerned as compared to availability and efficiency. And then there are endpoints, which is become very popular these days because of this pandemic and people are working from home. So those endpoints, those staff even working from homes becomes very important. And that's where Schneider Electric understand it. We have products, a very wide variety of products to offer each of these pain points, back with the service. Now, very interesting point is being taken for about predictive analysis or some sort of software alerts and everything, and that's where we have EcoStruxure IT. Now, EcoStruxure IT is an open cloud-based architecture where it's a very well-defined solution in the three layers. The bottom layer is your connected products, your hardware. It could be your UPS, it could be your cooling unit, it could be your racks, anything which can send data through SNMP cards. It is being used in the bottom layer. Then in middle layer, what we called as edge layer, where we analyze, we take all these data. Now, if you see most of these products which gets connected, or IoT sensors and all those things, they keep on sending multiple millions of data, but all the data is not useful. So edge layers, scan through all those data, get the relevant data, which makes sense based on your situation. And then on the top layer, we have apps and analytics, where we have something called IT expert or asset advisor, which provides you overall holistic view of your infrastructure, what is happening where. So based on your threshold, based on the kind of alerts you want to get, you will get to know what is going to get wrong. Because even for a large company like us, who has a channel partners all over, who has a service partner all over, it's still very difficult to provide the service to the customer right at the time they need. That's where we rely on asset advisor and EcoStruxure IT, because, for example, if any battery is going to get wrong, if anything needs to be replaced, we get very pre-alert, so that we notify our customer, we notify our service partner, and then they go attend this thing, so that there should not be any downtime. We are living in today's internet world. Even right now, there was a time 10-15 years back, the digitization and connectivity was very critical at server rooms and data center. But now, even if you are ordering online food, and the connectivity becomes as important as the connectivity was important at the data center. So there is a huge pressure in this entire IT infrastructure, and every user in entire value chain, they want to get uninterrupted service, and that's where there are various models available. There is no single model solution. So as I said, hybrid architecture, from colo to hyperscale data center to regional data center, edge, and to the endpoint. So, and then everything needs to be connected, everything needs to send the data, and that's where you get a remote IT infrastructure management solutions, which is like our EcoStruxure IT. So that's how we look at the industry, and that's how we serve our customers.
Just one addition to this, you mentioned about the scenarios, how you look at the industries. But in the current situation, apart from some of the industries we talked about, hospitality, or one is generally there is a work from home which is happening across most industries, but there are certain use cases like, say, education, with schools and colleges unlikely to open in the near future. We will increasingly see more online education being imparted, and power is going to be a critical infrastructure, because in many parts of our country, the normal power supply is very erratic quality. So what sort of use cases are you seeing from a Schneider perspective emerging? Say, for education can be one vertical, there can be other verticals, but education is coming to my mind because it's a big one. So what sort of use cases are you seeing being built from the Schneider perspective?
Yeah, it's a very, I think, very good application you picked up, and this application actually covers all, when we talk about this hybrid architecture, this education today, in today's pandemic time, actually touches all the architecture. For example, now everyone is doing e-learning, everyone is learning online, they are streaming videos, they are using app like Baiju and everything. So there are a lot of things happening around in the e-learning and online education. Now, most of these streaming videos and everything what you get, it's being stored somewhere in the cloud. So that's where you need a hyperscale data center, because you can't be using all these service provider, all these content at your school or at your particular rack. So you need to have a very centralized location. And most of these, education, if you see most of the universities and schools, they have their cloud space in companies like Amazon or Microsoft Azure. So they host some of the servers over there, and then they stream the contents from there. Now what happens, because of, earlier the content used to stream at the school level. Now because people are not going to the school and they are using their multiple devices, they are using iPads, iPhones, desktop, multiple devices. So now the endpoint are consuming a lot of bandwidth, a lot of requirements. So that means, giving them the information right at that time from the cloud becomes very, very difficult, because then you have latency issues, because the cloud which you are using, your data may be hosted somewhere in US or somewhere in, say, Bombay, and you are sitting in some smaller town and you're trying to use that data. That's where for school to put a edge infrastructure, a micro data center at their locations, where some of the localized content or some of the content which is high on demand, they can house it there so that they can stream it in a much more better way. And that's how every organization are using. So if you see education, they are using hyperscale data center. They are also using infrastructure in their school, their university. At the same time, they are also helping their students to buy a right equipment or right kind of service along with the power backup solutions to do that. Now let's come to how we are supporting over there. So that's why, as Rakesh mentioned, in the large hyperscale, we already have a product which is very highly efficient, and we are working with most of the colo providers. In fact, literally all the colo providers are our customer. Then we are also working with school to help them to support their IT infrastructure over there. What kind of data center they have to make it available, to make it online or 24/7 and all. And then we also are providing the work from home kit, which become very popular, where a lot of people are buying, say, desktop with additional monitors with a power connectivity, even furnitures and all. There we are providing our home solutions, which can be which can support the uninterrupted power supply along with the power protection. And then we also work with these universities and schools to give them an EcoStruxure IT, so that they know how their infrastructure is working, like whether everything is on or not. If there is going to be any service issues, they get a pre-alert. So all those things we are providing. So this is a very great ecosystem, and we are fully equipped, and we are working with most of the large organizations today to provide this kind of solution.
Okay, great. Thank you. Towards the end, I'll come back to Anuj and Harish with one last question to both of you. Anuj, the question is, say we talked about, say, when you are working with a power solution, a tier 1 power solution vendor like, say, Schneider. So what are your expectations? So that can be in terms of the SLAs that you have, or in terms of the requirements that you look for a business engagement. But from a tier 1 a partner like Schneider, what would be your expectations?
See, I think the number one thing that needs to be revamped in today's power sector or power providers or backup providers like Schneider is they should start looking at providing power as a service. Right. So when we talk about things like UPS maintenance, periodic maintenance, we all know the number of installations that these guys have. There is not enough proactive, right? You know we are reactive, we are not proactive. So that proactiveness needs to be in place. So when I talk about power as a service, I want that constant monitor. So they should sell their systems as a service, right? That even though the system is at their place, you do not need a power guy or a infrastructure guy to go and check every day, whether the power room is working fine, the batteries are running in their things like that. Even though they have, with SNMP cards and things like that, you can check the alarms and everything, but that particular thing should be sell off as a service, so that the infrastructure guys who are sitting, they are not the power guys, right? And we know companies don't hire a position that is exclusively for a power engineer to be placed in the company just to take care of the power room, right? Irrespective of how critical the business is, right? So that is point number one, which I feel is a business opportunity as well for uh, uh, s- like internet, right? You have managed internet, and you have unmanaged internet. Unmanaged internet is when you are faced with a problem, you call up the call center and they'll get over it. With managed services, they actually let you know that this is the problem that is going to happen, right? So some sort of that thing, I think, is what is required. We should increase the adoption of intelligent PDUs and increase investment in high performance computing systems. And one thing that I think is, they should work on getting waste heat management, right? So the heat that is being generated from the server rooms can be used to, that's a new technology that has been adopted in the US. I think Ankesh and Rakesh would know about it. So they actually use the heat which is coming out of the servers in the data center to actually recharge the batteries. So something on those lines, be more technology efficient.
Okay, can I respond to Anuj on one of the points?
Yeah,
First point,
definitely.
what he
Ankush,
mentioned.
please.
Anuj, in fact, it's very I'm really very excited to tell you about that. For example, you mentioned about the predictive services or infrastructure or power as a services, and that's where if you see our EcoStruxure IT, we have something called Asset Advisor. Now, what it does, it has a team of engineers sitting in Bangalore. Like there are hundreds of engineers sitting in Bangalore. They monitor our customer infrastructure. I will give you a very use case. Tanishq, I can use the name because we have approval from them. So Tanishq has around 300 stores across the country, and they used to have a huge problem because they are running a jewelry store. They used to manage infrastructure in jewelry store, and just imagine if anything goes wrong and a service guy is walking in and out at the time when they are selling jewelry, which is supposed to be a very clean environment, which is supposed to be a very luxurious kind of experience, but they had this issue, and they really wanted to have a solution so that instead of they are having a headache of monitoring this thing or using the service, they wanted us to do that. And that's where we offer them EcoStruxure IT with Asset Advisor, where our partner have got all the products what from all the jewelry store as well as the data center got all the products connected to our EcoStruxure IT. Then we have Asset Advisor, which is a kind of centralized monitoring service, which is based out of Bangalore. They used to monitor the infrastructure of customer in the real time, and if anything going to get wrong, so they used to get all these health data, all these alerts and everything. If anything going to get wrong before even customer knows, the service engineers used to go in an hour where they can do some sort of maintenance service, maybe in the evening where the customer is not there. So we are already doing with most of the customer, and I think we can take this discussion further to explain you that what all we are doing in this space. But yes, we are already working in a different model, which is power as a service or infrastructure as a service, and we even the capex and opex model also. We have partners. We are working with the customer where we are providing our solutions in the capex as well as an opex based model. So all sort of things are available, and we would love to take you on that maybe offline, maybe
Yeah, sure.
in a different forum. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ankesh. Harish, I'll come to you for the last. You had mentioned some critical things that you are looking at a vendor, like their geographical presence and support and services. Other than that, what would you expect from a vendor like Schneider?
The solution should be low maintenance. The pre-installation, post-installation support should be very good. We are working with Schneider in many of our hotels, and we know that they have got low voltage solutions, they have got building management solutions. So the thing is, the complete solution, whether we buy, say, Cat6 cables, we buy building management systems, we buy some waste water management systems, they've got everything. So my expectation is that the team Schneider should come as one team to give us complete integrated solution, so that the capex cost, the operating cost, everything will be much more lesser for us. Now, what happens is, uh, in hotels, you will not believe, in low voltage, high voltage, when we construct a hotel, there are more than 10,000 components. And I feel most of the components can be supplied by one company, so that we have one account manager with whom we can say that, boss, this is not working, that is not working, and we get immediate support. Because our industry is all about customer satisfaction. We want to ensure that our guest gets a home away from home experience. We treat our customer like a king. This is what I can say. Now,
Yep.
support is very important, and if someone can remotely check our batteries and tell us, Okay, I know that Ankesh has already mentioned about IT advisory and asset advisory, the different new things which I was not aware. It's very good to know about all those things. So support is very important. Geographical thing is very important. Analytics, predictive analysis, all these things are very important. Data centers have to work all the time, and we have to give secure environment to all our employees and guests. This is what I will say. Thanks.
See, and in addition to Harish being, asking for a low maintenance thing, that is always what management wants. But one more thing that I have come across with, managing data centers is while we were having a own data center in our premises only, right? That, for example, we had a 30 kVA 2 UPS. I would not name the company here. It's not, but it was a tier one. So it was not Schneider. You can guess what which company I'm talking about, right? So that it comes down to okay, the electric card that is put there, that went faulty. Now it is said that it will come from Bangalore. So a person or a company who has already done an AMC, right, and is paying for a maintenance contract, why should he have to wait for a courier to be shipped for 3 days? Right now, if he doesn't have a, even though we run our 30 kVA UPS in parallel mode, and I was able to, digest that, but that's what stuck in my mind, right? Even though that was 7 years ago. But that is something companies should look at. I'll quote an example. When I started my career with Sun Microsystems, I went there, and we were dealing with Punjab and National Bank. So they on the Sansad Road in New Delhi, they have their data center. Now there, that site was known as a platinum site. So when I went there, and it was said that there was an insignia which said that this is Sun's platinum site. So I asked my senior, what does that mean? So that meant that Sun Microsystems, irrespective of whatever, it is around 1999, right? So at that point of time, the cheapest server that was there in the data center was around 2 CR. Right. So they say the platinum site means that even though nothing happens, the spares for each and everything, be it memory, be it processor, be it disk, be it anything, it has to be there in the site. And the SLA is for 2 hours. Something like that. So that is where service comes in, and people have faith in the brand. It doesn't matter if they have to pay 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees or whatever the x amount is extra to get that sort of comfort, that I know that thing is sitting at, even worst of the failures, I would be back up in just about 1 or 2 hours, because battery is something which is actionable. So for me, we used to say, when we had the data center in house, that after every 2.5 years or 2 years, 3 months or 4 months, just replace the battery. Doesn't matter whether it is going out or not, or something like that, right? So that sort of thing needs to happen in the power industry. So I would conclude by saying that we need to visualize a phenomena where the power sector should become from expensive and erratic power supply to reliable and inexpensive, right? And as that transformation has happened in last 15 years or 10 years in the IT industry, the power sector and the power solution providers who are giving us the ability to run our business should also adapt some of the best practices from IT and non-IT domains, and apply to your sector, so that that trust from an organization, CXOs, are well maintained with respect to the money they spent.
Got it. Ankesh, would you
Rajnish, I
like
would
to
like to say
respond
something.
to that?
Yeah, so I think we really when I'm hearing all these things, I think we really need to communicate quite often, because all these things which he is expecting or he is wishing, we already have. We already have ultra care service. We already have where we ensure that there is going to be uptime for certain particular thing. See, a lot of things also. See, at the end, I do not want to compare ourselves with any other company, because see, at the end, these are the electromechanical devices. The failure doesn't have any logic. If there are products, it's bound to get failed. But the company usually, you have to judge the company, or you have to analyze the company, the way it responds, the way it supports in your failure. And a lot of things goes from the very basic fundamental things, which is the designing. If when you implemented the solutions, what sort of designing you done, whether you done a proper grounding work or not, whether you done a proper single point of failure kind of architecture, if that you have worked or not. Because if your infrastructure is that critical, where you have to ensure that you want to have a 99.59, those kind of uptime, then of course your architecture needs to be there. And then of course you have to work with service provider like us, which not only provides product, but at the same time we have a different classification of the services which we provide to our customer, even to the very remotest point. We have thousands of our partners, and those are pretty much certified. They are pretty much equipped to handle most of the cases in most of the remote areas. And that's where if you see APC brand and Schneider Electric brand, we are a leading brand. We are number one in a lot of segments because of certain region. And I think I would like to respond to Harish and point. This, when organization becomes big, like Schneider Electric, you mentioned, we have from entire all the product which is available in the power chain, from your switch gear to surge suppressor to transfer switches to low voltage switch gear, medium voltage as well as high voltage, to power UPS, power distribution board, power distribution unit, everything we have, including rack power, rack PDUs. So of course, there are various divisions, and of course there are various businesses, and sometimes it becomes very complex for ourselves also to manage, sometimes when there are multiple people are talking to the customer. And that's where, if you see in recent time, in 2-3 years, we have come across for a segmented approach, where we divided our entire solution in the segment. So there is a transportation segment, there is a hospitality segment, there is a IT/ITES segment, and that's where that's our interface to the customer. So that customer should not get confused with our organization hierarchy or bureaucracy, whatever you want to call. The interface of the customer will be much more simple. And for us also to design the solution, not only keeping, say, UPS in a mind or rack power distribution in a mind, but overall, power infrastructure or energy. We don't say power infrastructure, we say energy management. So overall energy management infrastructure to customers, and that's our approaches. And of course, this kind of feedback is very important. We take it very seriously, and we definitely rework on this, and then try to become much more better, so that our interactions gets much more better day by day. Thanks for very insightful feedback.
I have one more feedback for you. What happens is, in our hotel, we get raw power from power grid. Then we have a big generator from Cummins or Kloshkar or some other companies. Then we have got 30 to 50 kVA UPS. Then we have got separate UPS for different systems. Say telephone exchange person says you need to have a separate UPS. PMS, video on demand. There are so many servers. Now, from long time, I have seen that in a data center, there is one big UPS, then there are small UPS for the server rooms. I'll appreciate that if all these things can be consolidated to one, so that we can reduce our capex and opex. I don't know why we have so many different UPS, in the systems. We should have a reliable 40 kVA, 50 kVA UPS, which will take load of your Wi-Fi, network, music on demand, your check-in systems, your different servers, CCTV, emergency lights, all together in one. I don't want to waste money on 50 kVA UPS and 10 kVA UPS for the server room. That's it. Thanks. That's my desire. Sure.
I think we will. I got your gist of your problem, but we will definitely connect offline to discuss this more.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Just before we conclude, I'd just like to check, is there any question from the audience? There were some questions from the audience which came in the chat, but questions to Schneider, which I think have been answered. Any question for the panelists? Then I would like to thank all the panelists and for a very insightful discussion. And we wish some of these insightful discussions can be taken forward, as Ankesh mentioned, offline also, and also in future connecting with the Schneider personnel or the other panelists there. So thanks a lot again, and wish you best of the day. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.